No one ever thought Caitriona Balfe would say it. Not in public, not on record, not with cameras rolling and headlines waiting to be born. But the moment she finally opened her mouth and let that one incendiary sentence fall, the room seemed to lose its breath. The sex scenes are real. The entire fandom froze in place. This wasn't a tease, not a wink wrapped in PR polish, not one of those carefully padded Hollywood answers designed to glide past controversy. It landed like a controlled blast, a confession so daring that even seasoned interviewers hesitated, blinking as if their ears had betrayed them. In that single heartbeat, Caitriona didn't just stir conversation. She ignited the entire Outlander universe. And what followed? Chaos, curiosity, and a storm nobody was prepared to ride. People like to believe actors are trained to dodge, to pirouette around anything involving heat, chemistry, or the moments that make viewers shift in their seats at home. But Caitriona Balfe has always been wired differently. There's a blade-sharp honesty in her voice, a quiet courage in the way she meets a question head-on and answers without camouflage. Still, even knowing her reputation, no one expected the truth bomb she dropped that day. The room itself wasn't large, but the silence that followed felt vast, stretching into something almost physical. The kind of silence that seeps into your bones because you know something dramatic, messy, and irresistible is about to erupt across the internet. You could feel the air tilt. Cameras stalled for a fraction of a second. Even Sam Wan, seated beside her with that calm, unreadable Scottish composure he wears so well, gave a single, unmistakable blink. It wasn't shock, exactly. It was recognition, the look that says, oh, she really went there, because she did. And once Caitriona Balfe says something, she doesn't rewind it. She doesn't send out softening statements or cute clarifications. She lets the truth fall where it may and watches the dominoes tumble. And tumble they did. The moment those words escaped her, the Outlander fandom flatlined. Not literally, of course, but scroll through any feed that day and it looked like people were being revived on their living room floors. Twitter didn't trend. It combusted. TikTok edits multiplied like sparks in dry grass. Headlines bent her quote into the most dramatic shapes imaginable. Most celebrities would have rushed to clarify, to smooth the edges, to wrap the moment in safer language. Caitriona didn't. She didn't soften it. She didn't turn it into a joke. She let the world howl because she understands a rule every storyteller lives by: mystery is fuel, and confession is the match. But here's the part nobody expected. The drama didn't begin with that sentence. The tension had been building for years, simmering under every interview, every behind-the-scenes clip, every photograph where Sam and Caitriona seemed just a touch too in sync, too at ease, too magnetically connected for people to accept that it was only acting. From the very first season, fans were struck by the chemistry between Jamie and Claire. This wasn't the usual Hollywood romance you squint at and politely pretend to believe. Sam and Caitriona made it feel alive, volatile, dangerous, like a connection you could sense through the screen even if you tried not to. And that's why the same question followed them season after season. How do you film the intimate scenes? That's why producers, castmates, and press always delivered the same safe answers. We're professionals. It's choreographed. It's technical. It's not romantic. It's not real. The predictable script everyone expected. But Caitriona broke the pattern, as she always does. What people missed is that her words weren't meant to be taken the way tabloids fantasize. She didn't mean the scenes were real, in the literal, scandal-hungry sense. What she meant, and what only a seasoned actor dares to admit, is that the emotion was real. The connection was real. The trust was real. The vulnerability was real. Creating intimacy without crossing lines, without losing professionalism, without betraying your own boundaries, that was the reality she was pointing to. She was tired of pretending otherwise just to make the world comfortable. Outlander's most intense moments weren't careless or casual. They weren't improvised for shock. They were engineered, shaped, almost sculpted like choreography meant to reveal something deeper than skin. What viewers saw wasn't raw desire. It was cinematic intimacy built by two actors who trusted each other enough to make something look combustible without ever letting it become inappropriate. But try explaining nuance to the internet. When Caitriona said, real, the world heard, literal. And the circus rolled in. Every outlet wanted a slice of the story. Old paparazzi photos resurfaced. Fan theories rose from the grave. Every shared laugh between her and Sam was dissected. The way he guided her through a crowd with a hand at her back became a headline. Interviews where they finished each other's sentences were treated like coded messages. Even though Caitriona is married and Sam lives his own life, people insisted there had to be something hidden behind the scenes. What they didn't see was that her confession wasn't about romance. It wasn't about scandal. It wasn't even about Sam. It was about the craft. The emotional labor of performing scenes that millions project their fantasies onto. It was Caitriona pulling back the curtain just enough to say, "We're not machines." And after years of the same recycled questions swallowing their work, it felt like a release. Then came the part that didn't go viral because it wasn't as easy to sensationalize. She spoke about trust, about how filming intimacy demands a level of communication most people never experience, even in long relationships. She described rehearsing every movement, every breath, every moment, not out of attraction, but out of care. Out of protection. Actors don't just perform, she said. They guard each other's dignity. They build a safe space in the middle of a storm of lights, lenses, and eyes. That was the real confession. Not that the scenes were literal, but that they were built on genuine tenderness, genuine respect, and relentless professionalism. As she spoke, the room changed. Even Sam, who often jumps in during interviews, stayed quiet. Not uneasy, respectful. He let her carry the truth. She talked about how strange it is that people think intimacy is the easy part of acting. As if vulnerability weighs nothing. As if portraying desire, connection, heartbreak, and reunion doesn't take something from you. She described days spent under hot lights, repeating a single moment from different angles until something that looks spontaneous on screen becomes a masterpiece of technical precision. Some of the most beautiful scenes, she said, were the hardest to shoot because the pressure was immense. Not just to satisfy fans, but to honor the emotional truth of the story. Outlander didn't just show closeness. It explored it. And that meant Caitriona and Sam carried a responsibility few actors ever face. It's easy to play anger. Easy to play fear. Easy to play jealousy. But intimacy, the real, emotional kind, demands a different kind of bravery. Of course, subtlety didn't stand a chance online. Rumors grew legs. Insiders appeared. Exclusive sources claimed proof of whatever people wanted to believe. Fandoms split into camps, debating her meaning like scholars arguing over ancient texts. It became a loud, dramatic, strangely entertaining civil war. Through it all, Caitriona stayed steady. No frantic statements. No backpedaling. She meant what she said and refused to dilute it. And behind the scenes, crew members later admitted the mood on set was surprisingly light. Sam joked about it. The cast teased her. She laughed it off with that blend of humor and mischief that defines her. There was no tension, only a shared sense of relief that someone had finally said the thing no one ever says. Weeks later, Caitriona expanded on it in another interview. She reminded people that she and Sam began as strangers. They didn't build trust overnight. They earned it over years of pressure, injuries, long days, global attention, and the weight of carrying a phenomenon. They built a partnership, not the romantic one fans dream about, but an artistic one that runs deeper and lasts longer. When she said the scenes were real, she explained, she meant the intention was real. The care was real. The effort was real. The commitment to telling an epic love story with honesty was real. Her confession didn't expose a secret affair. It revealed the truth about acting itself, the intensity, the work, the vulnerability behind something that feels authentic enough to blur lines for the audience. And then came the moment no one predicted. Sam leaned in, looked at her with the quiet admiration that only years of trust can create, and said softly, "They feel real because we're real with each other. Not romantically, not scandalously, authentically." The internet exploded again, of course. But the truth had already landed. Caitriona's words didn't destroy the magic of Outlander. They revealed it. The show's power wasn't an accident. It was a collaboration, emotional and demanding, between two actors brave enough to be vulnerable in front of the world. And maybe that was the real drama she wanted people to see. Not scandal, but sincerity. Because sometimes the truth is more explosive than any rumor. And sometimes the real confession isn't that the scenes were real, but that the connection behind them always was.